A major hurricane is likely to develop in the Atlantic this week, and friends, there are several more areas of potential tropical development. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back at Meteo Mundo. Great to see you on a Monday. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. A lot to get into in this video, so we'll start right away. First thing I want to say is thank you to all of our new subscribers, and thank you for all of those who drop a comment in the section below, letting me know where you're viewing from and what the weather has been like. Actually helps me out in two ways. First is it helps out the interaction with the channel, actually gets more eyes on the channel just by dropping a comment below, but also letting me know what's been happening weather-wise really kind of takes the forecast full circle, lets me know exactly what's been going on, kind of verifies some of the things I was thinking about and some of the forecasting I've been doing. So if you have a quick second to drop a comment below, I really do appreciate it. We'll start as we typically do with what's happening now. Now, you still don't see the satellite information on my weather computer. That feed is still being impacted by actually power loss from Hurricane Helene. But you know what? Who cares? It's a minor thing. The devastation in the southeast United States is the big story. If you haven't heard, the latest report that I saw, the death toll is up to 120 people. And the news, especially in North Carolina and Tennessee, is horrible. So we'll deal with not having some satellite data. Hopefully it comes back soon, but of course I still have the NOAA satellite loops, so we'll look at that. On this Monday afternoon, we continue to see a broad area of mid-level rotation spin into the central side of the Caribbean. This has promoted showers the last couple of days. For places like the ABC Islands who desperately need it, we're getting a few showers to pop up over the Cayman Islands and Puerto Rico at the hour. It's isolated in nature across the Lesser Antilles, but there's still been some areas of heavier rain. Barbados is yet another area that continues to talk about some potentially heavy rainfall, especially on the western side of the island. And we're trying to get a few showers to lift up off the mainland into places like Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada. Still going to see some scattered showers over the Dominican Republic and Haiti on this Monday afternoon. We're going to try and spiral in some rain for Jamaica. It's still going to be somewhat isolated in nature overall, but improving rain chances the farther west that we go as we run into that Central American gyre, and we just see a lot more lift in the atmosphere as well. Now, again, none of this is because of any tropical development at this point in time. We'll talk about that down the road, but we're going to try and drift some showers across portions of the Grand Caymans and then back on over towards the Yucatan, Quintana Roo, back down towards Belize as well. So that's kind of what's happening right now. I've got a couple of viewer videos and photos to show you. This is from Aruba last night. We had some good thunderstorm activity over portions of the island. I know not everyone got that, but take a look at that lightning strike that was captured on video last night. And this is from Guanaja, I pronounce it right eventually, Honduras. This is from Kayleen Mendoza. What a beautiful shot of the island there just off the coast of Honduras, sent in by her cousin Selena. She sent me some videos also from Grand Cayman. So I appreciate all of you guys taking a second to send me these pictures and videos across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. So we'll get back into what's happening right now. First thing we'll do is I'll just zoom in a little bit here. And again, we'll take a look at the current temperatures across the area. Look, there are still plenty of areas under heat advisories or excessive heat warnings. That will continue to be a big story here. There'll still be pockets of heavier rain, and that will obviously be a story on the western side of our viewing area, and we'll get into the potential tropical development as well. But these temperatures in Fahrenheit, upper 80s to the lower 90s, feels like temperatures at the hour. Again, a lot of areas running above 100, and when you do that, you're running in the upper 30s to eventually to the lower 40s in Celsius when you get up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what it looks like right now across the area. We take a look at Freeport, 100 degrees feels like temperature. Nassau, New Providence in at 98. Just a couple of the other hotter spots, a little bit cooler in Central America and in portions of the Yucatan. So we'll start off with the models in the short term, and then I'll take you island by island for your rainfall forecast, and then we'll deep dive into the tropics. And obviously, what's going to be happening in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and even the Eastern Pacific is going to have a factor in exactly how this rain is going to play out here. So first things first on the model, we're going to take a look at the development here of what's happening off of our Central American gyre. Again, the Central American gyre is a very broad area of low pressure, which is located over Central America this time of the year. It is fairly consistent. It's part of the monsoonal flow, but it also allows there to be just inherent spin in the atmosphere. And there is the opportunity that based off of that spin that we try and get, again, development into the Northwest Caribbean and the south portions of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, that chance has actually dropped from 50 to 40% over from yesterday to today. But it's not really about if this is going to develop, it's about the time frame. That's why the Hurricane Center's backed off of it a little bit, because we may not be looking at a potential developing system until very late this week now, or even this weekend. And we'll get into what the models are showing at this point in time. But because there is a less chance that we're actually going to get a developing system right now in the Northwest Caribbean, it means the rain chances overall in a couple of these spots have come down just a little bit as well. So let me switch models real quick here, and we'll take a look at what's going to be happening in places like Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and Central America and the Caribbean, Western Caribbean overall. So for my friends in Kingston and Port Warren, Spanish Town, and Negril, still going to have scattered showers coming in. But because we're not going to get a larger area of tropical moisture, more than likely, over the next few days, I do think that the best chance for rain is going to be just to your west. We're going to sneak in a couple of showers here. Chance is going to be around 30 to 40% every day. But if you're looking for a little bit heavier rain here across the island, I think it's going to stay just to the west. Now, some of you had some good rain out of Helene anyway, but I know we've also dried out a bit across the island. So expecting Jamaica East to be slightly drier because of the new evolution of what might be happening. Now, a place like Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac will still be in the bullseye for this potential heavier rainfall. More than likely, it's not going to be organized as it moves across the islands. There could still be some gusty winds. There could be some locally heavy, rainfall. There could be some squalls, but to have a wrapped up tropical storm as it passes the Cayman Islands, now that chance looks to be even lower. There still is a possibility, but more than likely it's going to be a little bit farther north and west. But you can just see all of the ample moisture that continues to spin around the Central American gyre. So regardless of development, and like I said, we're going to deep dive into that coming up, from Cancun and Cozumel to Chetumal, back down towards Orange Walk and Belize City, and San Ignacio there, Roatan, San Pedro Sula on the northern side of Honduras, and then basically through the entire Central American area, all the way back down to Costa Rica and Panama, it just stays wet. It'll be a little bit weather farther north. And yes, there is the potential area of tropical development sitting just off the coast of Mexico in the eastern Pacific on the western side of that Central American gyre. But it all just feeds into the fact that we've got a wet forecast for these areas. Western Cuba would be included in this as well. Now, some of this moisture eventually might feed into the Bahamas. Not all the models pick up on that, and relatively speaking, I still have the Bahamas fairly dry over the next few days. We'll see if this plays out, that some of this moisture sneaks this far north and east. This NAM model is just a little bit more aggressive overall, but we'll call for scattered showers for Walker's Key and Grand Bahama on over towards Abaco to Eleuthera, and Andros back down towards New Providence there, Cat Island, Exuma, Long Island, on over towards the Acklins, Turks and Caicos. It's 20 to a 30% chance in most areas. For our friends in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, kind of wedged in between better moisture right now. So expecting a couple of showers to return a little bit later in the week to be a little bit higher chance for Punta Cana and Santo Domingo, Port-au-Prince and La Caille there on the Haiti side, Puerto Plata, northern side of the island as well. Scattered rain, still going to be the hotter side in the afternoon hours. As a matter of fact, I can tell you for my friends in Puerto Rico, the heat advisor has been issued all week long. It means that outside of where we get some of these good tropical downpours, it's going to be exceptionally hot. So please keep that in mind as well. Scattered showers will persist across St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, scattered showers for Road Town and Tortola and Anegada and Jost Van Dyke there in the British Virgin Islands. And again, you can see this flow continues to promote some scattered showers, Vieques, Culebra, on over towards the mainland as well. This is going to be a situation in the Lesser Antilles as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, where we're going to continue to see scattered showers developing. Nothing that's going to be in the most organized of ways here. All right, I'm not expecting there to be very large areas of rain, but pockets of heavier downpours will continue to persist. Now again, easterlies will kick in, and there's still a touch of a northerly component to the wind across the Lesser Antilles. That has promoted a little bit in the way of some swells to develop across portions of the northern and the western sides of the island. So keep that in mind if you're mariners as well. If you have any boating interest, nothing crazy. but there are the opportunity for some offshore waters across portions of the islands to have some kicked up sea conditions. Again, scattered rain will continue to move across. There is no tropical system moving in over the next few days. So from Anguilla to Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Martin, and all the way down the island, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, back down towards the Windward Islands. Again, isolated to scattered at best. Could get a little bit better rain in Trinidad and maybe even Tobago as some rain drifts to the north, but it'll be a little bit more scattered in Nueva Esparta, and the ABC Islands will also begin to dry out as well. Not expecting as high of rain chances here starting today and then through the rest of the week. So when we look at the island by island rain chance, it breaks down like this. Still very isolated in the Bahamas. I'll keep an eye out to whether some of that moisture surges north and east. But for right now, I'm expecting just a few scattered showers there. Same thing for the Turks and Caicos. Cuba's rain chances, especially in the central and the western side of the island, is going to be on the higher side. Cayman Islands rain chances begin to build. 40% chance tomorrow. Then we're up to a 60% chance Wednesday, Thursday. And we're going to look at some of the rainfall potential totals in these areas coming up as well. Belize City's rain chances just start to crank up as well. We're up to a 60 on Thursday. Cancun and Cozumel scattered tomorrow, then more widespread Wednesday and Thursday, as again, regardless of development, the moisture coming out of the Southwest Caribbean works its way closer to these areas. Once again, Jamaica it's just too far east right now, my friends in Jamaica, to see the bulk of that moisture. Still could be some heavier downpours, still could be some good rain, but it's just not as high of a chance as areas to your west. It's the same situation in the Dominican Republic as well. Puerto Rico and the British and U.S. Virgin Islands rain chances tomorrow are decent, then more isolated for Wednesday and Thursday. Bermuda still catches a few scattered showers in the afternoon hours. Anguilla's rain chances, 40%. Tomorrow, Wednesday, back up to a 50% chance on Thursday. Scattered showers for places like Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Bart's, St. Kitts and Nevis at around a 40% chance. Antigua, Barbuda, pretty decent there, the far northeast side of the island chain. 50% chance tomorrow, 50% chance again on Thursday. 40 to 50 for Montserrat, Guadeloupe, and Dominica over the next few days. Same thing for Martinique as well. And then you get back down towards St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. Again, isolated, heavier downpours, but still they're not going to be extremely widespread Wednesday, Thursday. Still a pretty good chance tomorrow in Barbados. Should tail off a bit. Grenada, about the same situation. Trinidad and Tobago, it's so area dependent, to be quite honest, but the rain chances look to be a little bit higher across those islands as well. So again, heavy downpours still could lead to some flooding in a couple of these spots that I've mentioned. Suriname and Guyana with about a 50-50 shot each and every afternoon. Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands will see their rain chances fall a bit through midweek. As we get into the forecast, again, really do appreciate you guys not only commenting, but liking this video. Again, it really helps out the channel more than you think. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, welcome to our community. It's a fantastic one. Thank you for clicking that subscribe button right now. Thank you for sharing this with anyone you think is going to get something out of it, especially those who could be impacted by some of this tropical development we'll be talking about. And of course, thank you for supporting the channel as well. All right, back out to the broad view. So we're now going to look at, and I'm going to loop up the GFS model here because again, I still don't have the stat data over the next week. And we're going to get into all the different things that are likely going to be happening here across our area. All right. So we're going to start with oldest to newest. If you notice that we don't have any more drawing lines here except just the rings on Isaac, it's because Isaac has become post-tropical. Look, if you can zoom out just this far and see Greenland, you know that it's pretty far up north. It's a hybrid system right now. It's not a truly tropical system. So Isaac is bye-bye. That's great news. We mentioned that that was going to happen and it's come to fruition. On the heels of that, we have Tropical Storm Joyce, which is just right here. This will quickly again dissipate into an extratropical system. So Joyce is about ready to go bye-bye as well. Oh, but what's this? This is the storm in the area that we were talking about yesterday. Let me pause this because we've got layers on layers on layers of development. Friends, I want you to say hello to Tropical Storm Kirk. We now have the K-name storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. This developed off of that red area from yesterday's video that had the 90% chance. This is the area that I mentioned would more than likely become a strong hurricane. And on the very first forecast from the National Hurricane Center, as you can see by these dots, it is forecast to become a major Category 3 hurricane deep into Category 3 hurricane status as well. Now, If I take off Joyce, which might be slightly easier said than done, just going to be able to get rid of that. So I'm going to leave it on here. Kirk is taking the same path as Joyce, basically running into where Joyce is going to be right now, but it's going to be doing so as a Cat 3 hurricane. Again, this track is fantastic because it's well away from the Leeward Islands. It's well away from Puerto Rico and the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands as well. So that's fine. We'll get another hurricane, another major hurricane more than likely, but this is going to be a fish storm. So that's just how we like it. But again, since Helene, we have snapped off 3 named storms like that. Isaac, Joyce, and Kirk. And more than likely, already on the board right now, we have Leslie and Milton. They just haven't developed yet. So let's get back into that. Where could we see potentially Leslie first? Well, guess what, guys? There's another invest of a wave coming right off the West African coast, Invest 91L. That is the red area that I took off because, again, it was going over where Kirk is right now. So let's bring this back to time 0. Here's your invest. Take a look at this on the GFS model. You give it just a few days, okay? And more than likely, we're going to be wrapping up a system exactly where Kirk was forming. And this one could be strong as well. As a matter of fact, as we get towards the end of the week and into the early part of the weekend, we could even have a second hurricane. It is absolutely plausible. Now look, Kirk is way up there, but it's very plausible that in about a 5-day frame, you have a hurricane here and you still have a hurricane, although Kirk might be weakening here. And again, this could be Leslie, more than likely, or the system in the Western Atlantic could be Leslie, and this would be Milton. But this one already has a high chance of development. Again, at this point in time, to begin this, it does look like that track tries to gain latitude fairly quickly to the north. This is one I'll be closely monitoring to see if it continues that same track as Joyce and Kirk, or whether we start to see that Bermuda High build back in south and try and push it a little bit farther to the west. We'll look at some of the ensemble members coming up. But hopefully, this storm stays far away from the Leeward Islands and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands as well. Much to monitor, though, for the week ahead. Now we get back into what's happening here. Again, we've gone from a 50% chance of development to a 40% chance. But the biggest takeaway from that is it's not about overall the Hurricane Center thinking that, yeah, there's really a less chance of this developing. It's about the time frame. We're not really looking at this now to develop at least until late this week or even this weekend. There's still a decent chance, and that number more than likely would go up again, right, from the 40% chance. There's a lot of different intricacies with this, and I got to tell you something. The models, as you sometimes expect when we don't have an actual developing area of low pressure yet, are all over the place. They just really don't know how to handle the situation. It's quite complicated. Look, you have one area here south of Acapulco that's moving west. That's going to probably become a tropical storm. But you also have this area here that's expected to drift north back into the southwest Gulf of Mexico towards the Bay of Campeche. So the question is, how does this all evolve when you've got this area here, this potential development area, and then the overall broad spin of the Central American gyre? There could be several areas of low pressure trying to develop in this region, all right? How strong they get, do they become true tropical systems, depressions, storms, hurricane? We're gonna have to wait and see. It is gonna be an active period for this area regardless, right? It's going to be wet for places like the Cayman Islands and Cuba and Quintana Roo and the northern sides of Central America and then into the Gulf Coast states. There could be a lot of rain regardless of development here as we get towards this weekend and into the early part of next week. Because I can, and because we will, I'm gonna draw this model out a little bit longer in time. There's 2 reasons I wanna do that, just so you can kind of get an idea overall of what's gonna be happening here, but I also wanna show you that system back out to the east. So again, the GFS model on this run, the deterministic, right? That's the main model run, and we'll look at the ensemble members of the GFS and the European model coming up. Still have this as a very broad system into this weekend and early next week, okay? So we still have a piece of energy down here, which could develop, and then we have our energy coming out of the Western Caribbean. But you see how wet this is, and a potential spin up either in the north central Gulf of Mexico or in the east in central Gulf of Mexico, and then pushing over Florida or moving into the southeast. That's the overall trend of this. But again, something really wrapped up, you don't really see it, do you? at least right now. But the models, they're going to go back and forth on this. And we'll just have to wait and see if we get a true center of circulation here or not. But if I lived in these areas, I'd be keeping a close eye on how this is going to be evolving for the week ahead. I can show you the GFS wind profile out of this as well. A couple of days ago, this was showing a nice solid tropical storm over Grand Cayman. It still shows a spin. We're still going to have a low-level circulation trying to develop, and you can clearly see that. This is why I talked about it being a very breezy, squally forecast for these areas with rain chances being high, regardless of whether this is just still disorganized storms, whether this is a depression, or somehow this spins up quickly into a tropical storm. And you can see that fresh wind then getting into the central and the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico, still some energy here in the Bay of Campeche as well, but it's just a lot broader in time, right? And you can kind of clearly see this. It never really truly tries to wrap up here as it moves through the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico, at least on this latest run. This would be good news as far as higher end potential development, all right? So we'll see how it plays out. But again, you're not seeing this. You got some fresh winds up here along the northern Gulf Coast by the end of this period. But as far as this thing just getting going, right? I mean, you can clearly see it's even a little bit stronger here over Cuba. Then it never really fully wraps back up, at least on this latest run of the GFS. However, again, subject to change because these models do like to flip back and forth a lot when you're talking about an area that doesn't have a true center of low pressure. Just to go back to this storm a little bit farther in time, right? It's still trying to hug the Kirk-Joyce track. I'll show you that the European model tries to tug it a little bit farther west. But again, just to show you that two what could be very powerful hurricanes, but hopefully both of them are going to gain latitude and go north well east of the Lesser Antilles. So let's take a look at the European ensemble members first, okay? Again, some development here coming out of the Yucatan Channel, and then as we get towards early next week, more development. Again, this looks more impressive than the GFS, doesn't it? Still could be two separate areas, one in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, one coming out of the Yucatan, or these could somehow combine, merge, produce a broader area of circulation. We'll see how this plays out. But again, this is why we have to keep a very vigilant eye, because on the European model, and this would be next Monday night, so basically a week from now, we have signals from the far western Atlantic back into the western Gulf of Mexico, and some of them are on the stronger side. So there's still a pretty high chance that as this moisture lifts north into the Gulf, we still get a spin up of some kind. And obviously the track and the intensity is still much up in the air. Now on the GFS ensemble, so we're back to the GFS here. Again, a couple of members trying to develop a tropical storm as it exits the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico. Most of these then have it off towards the east. You do get one or two spinning something up in the southwest Gulf. Now, some of the models try and take this over the Yucatan and then bend it back north and east, right? Some of them are a little bit straighter. So we'll see how it plays. The GFS is not as robust as the European is right now in the Gulf through the weekend and into early next week. But some members still show a developing system. Snapshot next Thursday, so 10 days from now on the European model. Again, nice cluster here. Look how active the Atlantic could be. Now look, a lot of this is Kirk moving north and then what could be Leslie behind it. But I do want you to note that the European model is a little bit more to the west and south with what could be Leslie coming closer to the Lesser Antilles in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Some of those members have that happening. Doesn't have the recurve as far north and east as fast as the GFS. So that's something I'll be monitoring as well. The bulk of them still have it north and east of the islands. But friends, this is now going to get into early October and it's going to be active. Again, we have 2 named storms right now. We have 3 named storms right now, and more than likely 1 or 2 more on the way in the next week ahead. So that's what we have to look out for. Told you about the rainfall totals. Look at the European model, again, in our western zones. You can clearly see it bringing that system up over the Cayman Islands and Cuba, and then into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So again, on the European model, it's this track right now with a secondary area again from the eastern Pacific going over Mexico and into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. So you could still, again, clearly have two separate areas. Obviously, you could have two separate maximums of rain as well. And in the Cayman Islands, we could be talking about 4+ inches in a couple of spots. That's more than 100 millimeters. We could see 2 to 4 inches across the Yucatan and Central America, 50 to 100 millimeters as well. Still could see some pockets of decent rain across the Greater Antilles, and again, pockets of decent rain across the Lesser Antilles as well. But just overall, the Central American gyre is going to spin a lot of rain regardless of tropical development, but that still looks to be at least a medium chance over the week ahead. It's going to kick up the surface sea conditions as you would expect. As I mentioned for my friends in the Lesser Antilles, you notice those winds are a little bit more northeast than anything. That could bring in some swells. We could have some big time wave heights coming into places like Bermuda, and then some long period swells for the eastern side of the Bahamas as well. Watch that again as we go through the week. Watch these swells build and then push their way south and west. So again, if you have boating interests, some of the exposed waters of the Bahamas could see some fresher winds and waves. And obviously how this develops will play out exactly where we see the higher sea conditions in the Gulf of Mexico. But for the Northwest Caribbean and even into Jamaica, there are going to be some higher seas the next few days as well. Friends, you know I appreciate you guys so much. You can find us across all of social media. How about Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook? You want to send me a picture or video like some of you did today, and I appreciate that. It's myMediaMundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop that in the comment section below as well. Friends, have a great rest of your Monday. I'll be back tomorrow with all the newest information for you across the tropics, the Caribbean, and the Bahamas, right here at Meteo Mundo.